Okay, welcome everyone to Healing Sexuality After Pornography. My name is Catherine Lyell and I'm a men's health and porn addiction specialist in Melbourne. And you're going to see some pretty jaw-dropping stuff today, which will be exciting, hopefully. And we're going to find out who's here in a second and why you're here, and if you're a practitioner or if you're just a man joining. And we've got quite a bit to get through tonight, and I'm going to go as fast as I can without overwhelming people. So let me know if you want me to slow down. I want all microphones on mute, please, the whole time, unless I ask you to come off mute. It'd be great if you could put your cameras on. I'd love it to be an interactive masterclass. But if you're moving around or eating or doing anything, going to the toilet especially, then please turn your camera off. It'd be great if you could close down all other apps and limit your distractions. We want everyone to be raising their hand and using your reactions down the bottom. If you're not sure, it's in the menu. I haven't got one on mine because I'm running it, but it's reactions, I think it's called. So you can raise your hand, you can write in the chat box. If you need to ask a question, I ask that you put it in the chat box rather than jumping in. As Ishtar will I'll break every couple of slides and we'll just check if there's any questions as we go through. It's just a lot easier for people to ask questions while we're on topic rather than at the end. If you want to get your best view out of Zoom, you actually select speaker view on the top right corner, which means you won't see everyone else that's in the chat right now. Sorry, in the call. It is being recorded, as I mentioned. Some private information does come up in these calls normally because people like to share, etc., and even in the chat box. And just letting you know, this is a safe place. And if anyone has anything that they want taken out, I can edit it out before I publish it. But most people don't get a copy of this anyway. It's just stored in my own YouTube channel for my own usage. It'll be around 90 minutes tonight because I've shortened it a little bit, hopefully. At this time of the night, we want it to go a little bit faster than 2 hours. Okay, so I want to know who we have on the call. If you can, we already know where you're from. There's obviously no teenagers here from what I can see. You will need a pen and paper and some water. So if you don't have that, just grab that quickly. I really love you to share this monthly event with others if you can, if you feel that you're getting a lot out of it. And don't think that it's just for the men, because it's definitely for the women. The teenagers can watch it. I send these recordings to couples for them to watch together. It's a really, really good way for people to learn information about this topic in a private setting, because there's a lot of confidentiality issues around porn addiction. It does run monthly on a Tuesday, and sometimes I cancel it depending on how I'm feeling. But it should run monthly on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. There will be links shared, and normally I have a moderator doing it, but I will be doing it today. So you're just gonna have to bear with me, and we'll do it right at the end. I do recommend that you open those links when I do share them, because you'll lose them once we end the meeting. You can always contact me later on if there's some links in here that you need. There are freebies that I'm giving away today, and if you stay till the end, you'll get a mini program for free from me, and also you'll get some discounts off my larger program, my 30-day program. Okay, let's blow some minds. My name is Catherine Lyell. I'm from Integrated Men's Health, and I'm a men's health and porn addiction specialist. I'm actually a somatic frequency healer, so I'm shifting from Integrated Men's Health into my personal brand. Integrated Men's Health is staying exactly as it is. I'm not rebranding. I'm creating a new brand where I take everything that I've learned from the men's work and all of the experience and research and books and all the things that I've done with the men and the knowledge that I have, and I'm taking it to the women, taking it to the couples, partners of porn addiction, women that watch porn, girls that are being sexually abused because of porn addiction. So we're working with teens. I'm already doing it now, but the soft launch is taking a long time. But it'll all be under the banner catherinelyell.com. I'm a kinesiologist. I've been a kinesiologist for 17 years. I'm a massage therapist, medical intuitive, energy healer, Kundalini activation specialist. That's how we get rid of porn addiction. So you're going to learn a few things today about that. I'm a psycho-spiritual therapist, a dating and self-intimacy coach, DNA and ancestral healing practitioner, trainer, researcher, business mentor for practitioners and solopreneurs. So I teach people what I do as well as the business side of things, and I'm a best-selling author. The Uncensored Threat is my amazing book that was published last year. It feels like yesterday, but it was on the day of the earthquake that I was live launching my book, and the earth shook, which was quite appropriate. I've treated over 4,000 men in person. I've spoken to over 25,000 men in my career. And the research that I've been doing has been running since 2018, which still runs. It continues to run and collect data. There is a trigger warning with the content that we're doing tonight. We don't have any teens, so I can swear my little ass off, but I am a no fluff practitioner. I have to work with men all the time. You don't get the bullshit with me. I go straight in for the deep stuff, and there's no fluff with me. So I have a really blunt passion for men, women, kids, and relationships, but plenty of healing will occur around these triggers. So just hang on for the ride. All right, why are we here? Because porn is a big fucking problem. It's a massive, massive problem. And people don't know how big this problem is because no one talks about it. And the people that watch it don't talk about it to anyone else. All right, there's a lot of guys that know that their mates watch porn, but not one single man has come in, and I've asked every single one of them, does someone know about your porn addiction? Does your partner know? Do your mates know? And they go, oh, yeah, she knows I watch porn. And I'm like, does she know what you just told me? No, she doesn't. Does she know how often? Does she know where you're doing it? Does she know what you're watching? No. Right. So it's the biggest kept secret on the planet, and it's out in the open at the same time, right? And so we've been raised in this culture of, men, that's just what men do. But it's causing a massive problem because what people don't see are the 13-year-olds that message me on Instagram and say, my penis doesn't work. I watch porn every day. I've got an addiction. I don't know what to do. And I can't treat them. I can't say much at all legally. And I just divert them to my website, which I've set up for teens, especially, where there's a whole lot of free resources for people. So you can go there anytime, integratedmenshealth.com.au. You can send people there. They can get these free resources because there's a majority of the people that contact me can't afford to come and see me. All right. And so we've got to make sure that we get this message out. Because not many people understand it, but everyone is affected, including the children and the partners and our teens and our teen girls, especially. It's a massive problem because we're ruining our boys as well. We are ruining them. People are like, oh, this mustn't be happening to too many people. It's actually over 90% of men. That's what the research came back. It was 97% of men surveyed were watching porn regularly. And now it's affecting our girls because they're all coming through being sexually abused. And why are we here? Because when men need to drop into their hearts more, we want them to drop into their hearts and connect their groin to their hearts. And the women need to connect their groin to their hearts as well. But that's a whole other thing. That's not why we're here today. And education is power. You're about to have your mind blown. I can guarantee you that. I do lots of men's classes and they just sit there with their jaws dropped like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. Okay, you're going to learn why Kundalini activation is the cure for porn addiction. We can't use the word cure. That's why it's in inverted commas. But it is the cure. And because my clients don't feel like watching porn after one session if their Kundalini activates. It's amazing, right? And it is a phenomenon that can't be explained. And I'll go through more of that in a second. We're going to learn why conscious self-pleasure is the key to rewiring the brain. All right, I'm not sex negative. I'm all about connecting men back into their sexuality, using self-pleasure as the tool to rewire the brain. You're going to learn what the path of least resistance is, where everything is mapped out for you, because so many men will say to me, I've tried to quit. I've gone cold turkey. I've gone Nofap. I keep relapsing time and time again. And you're all about to learn why they're doing that. And there's a special mini program giveaway and $200 off my 30-day program coming up. So safety is everything to me, to my clients, to my practice, to my Zooms, to everything that I teach. But we want to get vulnerable, raw, real, What does that say? And messy, that's behind my little, yeah, we're just letting some more people in. Regular shares throughout. It may not happen tonight because there's not too many people here, but people tend to let the chat box go crazy because they just want to tell their story. So we just want to honor people that are oversharing right now, because it's okay for them to do that. And I have lots of questions for you. So it is an interactive masterclass, and I want you to be getting on the chat box. We don't want crickets in the room. It's frustrating. So I want you to take a deep breath. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm also going to teach you another breath trick later on. Okay, so I want to know, what stage are you at? Males and females can answer this. You can even say that there's no porn whatsoever. In the chat box, I want you to tell me, are you in denial? Or do you feel like you're in denial? Because this is all about perception. Are you defensive? Are you feeling like you're in awareness? Are you taking action? So you're quitting, or you're doing things to quit, or you're joining men's groups or whatever, or are you struggling? So if we can just get those in the chat box, and I can see that now. What have we got? Please come through nice and fast, because we're going to be here forever if it doesn't. I think there's a delay actually on what's going on in this chat box. That's okay. I also want to know, are you in a relationship where there is porn use by either party? So we've got awareness and action. Thank you. Awesome. I mean, you're taking action because you're here, which is great. What else have we got? And so are you in a relationship where there is porn by either party? Beautiful. Just over a year ago, for the first time, I talked with a group of friends, soul family, and it shifted. Beautiful. Occasionally use porn as a couple. Yep. I'm here because as a spiritual healer mentor, I'm starting to work with more men who wish to do their healing. Beautiful. I used to have a porn addiction as a young woman. Thank you for sharing. All right. And then, yes, in a relationship with porn use. Thank you. And yes, beautiful. And how are you feeling right now as we're about to discuss it? Is anyone feeling uncomfortable? Are you feeling anxious? Are you excited? Just popping that in the chat box, letting me, I'm all in. Beautiful. Not in a relationship at the moment. No personal engagement. In a relationship, porn use stopped. Beautiful. There's a massive movement happening. We're in a really good time. Excited, a bit of anxiety, excited. It's what's needed. Get it out in the open. Excited to be here. Beautiful. Okay. We're going to cover all of this. The stats and research, men in 2022, what is a porn addiction? Erectile dysfunction, which is the biggest thing around porn addiction, because men don't know they have a porn addiction. They just know that their penis doesn't work and they don't know why. That's normally what's happening out there. We're going to cover brain damage and mental health and what this does to the brain, prostate health, kundalini, and we're going to talk about some solutions. And as I said, you're going to get the 2-week challenge for free. There's a Q&A at the end, but please ask questions as we go along. As we mentioned, for the latecomers, just popping it in the chat box, and Ishtar is going to let me know as we go if there's any questions. Now, another question for you. Do you want a better sex life? Raise your hand. We all do. Okay, can it get any better? Yes, of course it can. Okay, so everyone's raising their hand. Beautiful. Okay, good. Okay, now, next question is, what is wrong with your sex life now? So this is the like, oh, everyone's like, yes, but like, what is actually missing? What is the void? What is the thing? It may not be the person, it might be about you. So there's something that you want to improve. What is it? So putting that in the chat box now. I actually get access to the chat box later on, so I will have a look at all of these. I'm kind of having a look as we go. Okay, so John's saying it's not happening. Yep, which is the most common thing that I hear. And it's why I'm starting to work with women, because I have heard men talk about sex, no sex, no sex, no sex for so long. It's like, okay, you know, I've got to get in there and do something about this. I'm in a new conscious relationship. However, the man is still in his head due to an old porn imprint. Yep, very, very common. Okay, the next question is, are you watching porn regularly? yes or no, just in the chat box for me. And what you define as regularly is not going to be the same as what I do, but that's okay. That's your perception. So putting in the chat box, no, everyone on here is not watching porn. That's never happened before, but this is good. Okay. I want you to share a negative, and not a big long story because it'll take too long for them to come through, but just a negative impact, just in a bullet point, like it might be erectile dysfunction or it might be abuse that porn has had on your life, even if you don't watch it. So it might be that you've been sexually harassed or asked to do things during sex, or for the women anyway, or the men as well. It might be impotence. It might be performance anxiety. So just popping in there, anything that that porn has had an impact on your life, if at all. Yep. Withdrawal from a healthy relationship with a partner. Yep, that's really common. An expectation to perform. Yep. As women, we're like, we don't do those things and look that way. You know, we don't cover that in today's session either, because that's a whole other conversation that we don't need to have, because we're so far past the moral side of this. Lack of sex from previous husband due to his porn watching. Yep. Sometimes having sex feels horrible. Yep. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Amazing. Has anyone had, the males, has anyone had an orgasm without ejaculation? You can raise your hand if you need to have a break from the chat box. So orgasm and ejaculation are actually two separate processes that normally occur at the same time, or you just never had anything different. And when I say to men, I'm going to help you stop ejaculating, they're like, no, but I love that part. And I'm like, I know men love to, it's not paintball, but they like to put it places, right? And it's a territorial thing sometimes. And I've grown up with men and I've been lots of male friends, and obviously I treat a lot of men, so I get it, right? But what they don't understand is that orgasm comes from just below the belly button, and it's meant to rush up through the body, and it's an energy thing. And then ejaculation is the semen coming out of your testicles and your prostate, and it's a reproductive function. But guys have trained themselves, because they don't know any different, to have one in the same. And so what we start to do in this training is we start to teach you how to have orgasm without ejaculation, which does not happen overnight, trust me, but it has happened on my table. Like one of my clients has like 14 orgasms just while I'm massaging him. I'm not even going near his groin. Okay, now we're going to dive into the shitty stuff first, right? The stats. Kids are seeing porn between ages of 8 to 11 years old. That's the average age now. And if you think your child is outside of that, then you are mistaken. It's just how it is, okay? And if you're waiting until you speak to your teenager, 15 or 16-year-old, about the porn talk and what's real and what isn't, and consent and boundaries, it's way too late. You have to start age appropriate, obviously, at 4, 5, 6. When you start teaching them about their body and how to, and what hole the wee comes out of and things like that, that's when you start teaching them about what's right and what's wrong and what's their body and what's safety and what's boundaries and all of that. Because a kid can only see porn once and they'll be traumatized for life, because they have no concept of sex or sexuality. Okay. Age 5 is more common than you think. The guys that I treat who are really stuck in this and have really ingrained behaviors around it and trauma is because they were sexually abused at age 5, and the grooming part of it involved porn. They're the worst cases that I see. They're the ones that ends up as sex offenders and in the prison system. And I've done lots of work with one of the guys over in the US around that, who works in that prison system. I treat males between the ages of 15 and 86. 86 has been my oldest client. He was not happy when I told him he had a porn addiction. I've got a 71-year-old that stomped his feet and said, I do not have a porn addiction. And I'm going to talk about him in a sec and give an example of why he had a porn addiction, even though he was watching it once a month. And the 15-year-olds, obviously, they come through the parents, and we do Zooms with the parents present. A lot of the time, the parents have no idea that the porn is, but I can tell from the behaviors and what they're talking to me about the gaming and this and that. And then once we get trust, we then one-on-one with the teenagers without the parents there, with the understanding that if anything comes up that is suicide or anything nasty, that obviously I pass on that information, but they're happy for me to take over because it's awkward for them and they don't know how to sort it out. All right. Instagram following, about 60% of my Instagram following that contact me are underage, and I had no idea. And they were all messaging me, and I have people from all over the world with all lots of, language barriers. So it's very difficult for me to spot a teenager. And they were contacting me, telling me, and then I learned to start asking, because I had a 16-year-old contact me who had a very deep voice. We did a consult over the phone, and he was an American, so he had a very deep American voice. He was 16, and he was telling, I didn't know, and he was telling me, I'm like going through my form, how often do you watch porn? He said 36 times a day. I thought he said 6, and I nearly fell off the chair. I said, what did you just say, 6? And he said 36 every day. And I said, what do you do for work? And he said, I'm a student. And that's when I really fell off my chair. And I was like, hang on a second, how old are you? And he was 16. I'm like, I can't do this coaching call with you. Go onto my website. I'm still in contact with him. He's now, I think, 19. He's had 19, 20. He's had a double hip replacement. He's had an autoimmune disease, and he's had a bone marrow transplant. So this affects the health of the children and the brains, which you'll see in a sec. Women are being compartmentalized. We all know that's happening. Men know that's happening, even the ones that are watching porn. Men are crossing boundaries, and we all know that's happening with the Me Too movement. And the reality in life and sexuality is being skewed. My research came back a couple of years ago. It's still running now, but 97% of men are watching porn. And I knew this. It was nearly 100%, but no one would believe me. And I was attacked hardcore when I came out with these results by male coaches who said that I was shaming men. I'm not shaming men. I'm just telling you, I've been doing this for years and I've seen it all the time, and everyone else needs to know this is what's going on. 87% of those men are watching it regularly. What we define as regularly is once a month or more. 98% of my clients have erectile dysfunction, and not all of them come to see me for porn addiction, because I never used to advertise that because I couldn't, because Facebook wouldn't let me. So it's very much they're coming in for anxiety, depression, mental health, pain, just coming in for a massage, and 98% of them have erectile dysfunction. I would tell you probably half of them don't even realize they have erectile dysfunction until they get my masturbation homework and their penis doesn't work without porn. So that's when you start to see the really high numbers. 100% of the cause of those 98% is porn-induced erectile dysfunction. PIDE. 100%. Even the men who are in their 70s and 80s, even the men who have high blood pressure, medication and antidepressants and diabetes, alcohol and smoking. All of those things that the doctors are saying cause erectile dysfunction, these men had, and when they quit porn, their erections started to return. And I'm talking men that haven't had erections for 20 years, right? And so it's really good news for the men because the results are almost immediate. You've got to get rid of porn to be able to do it. I have met 22 men in my career who've never watched porn. I've counted them. That was a personal kind of side project of mine, because I just couldn't believe that this many people, there was only a few that hadn't watched porn. So I have the control group. I've seen the men who don't watch porn, and their bodies and their energy and everything is completely different. Okay, so what impact has the global pandemic had on men and relationships? I don't like talking about this, but I'm going to anyway. Lockdowns and isolation. We know that was a problem for men, and porn addiction went through the roof. Pornhub started offering free premium memberships, especially to the ones that were on the cruise ships. I don't know if you remember, back in 2020, that's what Pornhub did. Here's some free premium memberships, which means access to crazy amounts of porn in all the categories. Men have lost jobs or they can't work, both from the mandates and the lockdowns and the isolation. They've had too much time on their hands. The relationships are failing anyway. So things start to, so many people have been separated over lockdowns. Sex is taboo or non-existent, and this is a massive problem within relationships already. And communication and effort, people are just giving up, including the single people. And that's why I have a singles group, which you're going to know about at the end. Okay, mental health has hit a global low. When I first did this presentation, that's where we're at. We're starting to come out of it now, but our bodies are still stuck in a little bit of trauma. Okay, and so the body workers like myself are doing a lot of work on the meridians and the cells, and everyone's on supplements because people know that they're dragging their physical bodies behind, even though the mental health is starting to pick up. It's sitting there in their bodies. Men are feeling lost, disconnected, scared. There's a massive lack of purpose. A lot of men had to actually change jobs, which was a positive thing. And now they're like, oh, I don't really want to go back to my electrical work, full time. I don't really want to go back and work for that person, and they're starting their own businesses. So a lot of magic is happening as well. But the ones that I see, they're all lost. And I ask them every single time they come in, are you feeling lost? Are you fulfilling purpose, or are you needing a change in work? Every time they come in, doesn't matter how many times they've seen me, I ask them every time. There's confusion and fear. Dating sites are ruined, as we know. Prostate cancer is rife. Suicide in men is rising to 600,000 per year globally. And porn addiction has been declared a global health crisis long before the pandemic. Okay, so we're going to dive straight into dating and relationships. Are there any questions so far? Don't think so. No, good. All right, I want to know if you're single or if you're in a relationship. I think I asked that before. Dating. It ruins dating because men can't be present during sex. Now, I've been shot down by many male coaches for saying that, because they'll get back to me and say, you can't say that. Our men are good guys. They try. They like to make effort. They're not selfish lovers. And they're good guys. You can't say that men aren't present during sex. I'm like, well, it's true. And if you're a woman and you've had sex with someone who watches porn versus someone who doesn't watch porn, which is very rare to have that comparison, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's presence. It's not in their head, it's in their body. It's like your body moving and shaking, your breath work, like you feel like you're losing your mind, you're going to another planet. You don't know whether you're upside down or you don't know where you are, right? And that's what connected sex should be like, and it's not happening because the men are programmed a certain way. That doesn't make them a bad person or a shitty lover. It just means that they're unable to be present during sex because of the conditioning and the brain damage, which we'll go through in a sec. There's no purpose with dating. There's no motivation. There's no passion. There's no drive. There's a lack of effort and communication. Now, I'm a woman. I have been on a dating site for like 10, 12 years, and I can speak from personal opinion, but it's also happening to the men as well, right? The women are also lacking because we've just all given up. There's performance anxiety for men, so they don't feel confident in approaching a woman either at a bar or in a dating site or meeting up with them because they've got impotence. There's anxiety and depression present in a lot of people now, undiagnosed, of course. I don't do diagnosis. There's social anxiety, and it's easier to watch porn than go out and try and pick up, even though they think that's the only two options, right? There's a lot of hookups going on, as we know from Tinder. Relationship-wise, people are withdrawing from sex because of porn. They're not present. There's rejection and conditioning going on both sides. People are like this. They're just not meeting up. It's like, I want this and I'm tired and I want this, and no one's connecting. They're not getting the same drug hit from porn that they will, from sex, that they will from porn. It's impossible. There's a lack of attraction in relationships, but people aren't willing to admit that or walk away. There's erection issues, there's no communication, and the love languages, as I said, are just misfiring. All the things. Men are masturbating to porn after sex. These are all the things I hear, right? Which I can't obviously tell stories about because of privacy reasons, but we just kind of bring them up generally. But these are things that I have heard. Men are masturbating to porn after sex. They're feeling unsatisfied. The wife goes to sleep. They go and watch porn and masturbate, and then they get their hit. They're turning to massage parlors, sex workers, dating sites, sexting. Very, very common. The reason I wrote the uncensored threat was because a massive percentage of my client base were cheating, and I couldn't say anything to the world. I couldn't tell a soul, and it was eating away at me. And so this is why I wrote the book, because it's important that we all understand that this is what's happening. Having kids changes everything, women especially, with their bodies and their time and their resources and their energy. The female partners are often shutting down sexually because they're not getting their needs met in other places. It's just too hard to address the issues. People are too busy to stop and fix things. There's self-esteem issues on both sides. And the other thing is, men have like got this little thing happening that it's their only me time. And so it can be just on the toilet, which is quite sad, but that's the only time they get to themselves. And so, you know, that's all ingrained in their man cave time, even if the man cave is in the toilet. All right. And people are compartmentalizing themselves to cope. You've got your head, your heart, your penis, and the men are separating all three. The head does work, the heart does relationships or family or kids. And then the penis and the hips down does the sex, and they're all disconnected. Okay, show of hands, who's scared about what they might find out today? No, got a whole lot of women on here today and evolved men. This never happens. Are you willing to give up the thing making you sick? All right, I ask this to my clients every single time. It's on my form, because a lot of men don't want to give up porn, even though they come and see me. They really don't want to give up porn. They really love it. They really love masturbating all the time. They love their me time. Even though they know it's a problem and their penis doesn't work, they still don't want to give it up. So we have to ask them, are you willing to give up the thing making you sick? There's a lot of shame and guilt around porn addiction. It's hardwired into your identity. It's the frontal lobe that gets affected by porn addiction. The frontal lobe is the control panel of your personality. So when you say to someone, how about we get rid of that addiction? It's like, it's so ingrained in their lifestyle and who they are and their belief system that it becomes very difficult to get rid of it just by seeing a psychologist, for example, who's just going to talk to them. You have to do the body work when it comes to porn addiction. You really do. It doesn't have to be, massage though. It's pleasurable. So why would they give it up? So that's like the oxymoron. Like, why would I do? Why would I give this up? I love it. I need it. It's my little secret. The addiction becomes, the more secretive the addiction is, the stronger it becomes chemically. Because if you're hiding it, it actually feeds into the chemical addiction that happens in the brain, which we'll go through all the chemical stuff in a second. I hear I'm single, so I need stimulation. I had someone message me before saying his wife's got menopause. So of course, this is needed. Like, no, actually, you can go and get some help for your wife who needs some help with her sexuality and what's going on with her body and the communication. Porn is never a good idea, even with a partner. And we'll go through that a bit later, and you'll see why. It's what men do. That's the biggest one that we hear all the time. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in full, but this is the pornography addiction cycle that I've come up with after speaking to 25,000 men. Men start off normally oblivious. When they speak to me for the first time, it's like, oh my God, what is going on? This has changed though, after years of doing the work and dropping the seeds and other people doing this work. This is starting to change. So they don't just come in as oblivious. They move into disempowered because they're getting erectile dysfunction. Then they go into fear, like, what if this is a permanent thing? They go into ego, so they can't ask for help, and that, no one understands me, and like all of that stuff. Then they go into denial. What am I not owning? Determination. So then they start to go, okay, there's a real problem here, and I've heard this chick talk online and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do this myself. And they think they have the discipline because they don't understand the actual addiction cycle. They don't understand how it works in the brain. And so they go into Nofap or semen retention or no porn or cold turkey. and then they go into relapse, which is failure, then back into shame, and then round we go again. Okay, so that's the addiction cycle. If you want to take photos of the screen, you're more than welcome to. Okay, what is classed as porn? This definition has changed over the years. It used to be, you know, nude pictures or people doing sex acts in video or magazines. And it has changed because of all the apps and the types of porn that is out there, and the addictions that are reaching high levels where people are masturbating over anything. Right? So my definition is now anything visual for which you seek sexual stimulus from. Unfortunately, over the years, men have contacted me and said that they masturbate over my photos on Facebook. I've had the same thing happen on dating sites. I'm not in revealing clothes ever. And we are getting these messages. And these men are also telling me that they masturbate over their friends or colleagues or whatever on Facebook. Right? So I have privy to all of this information, and I'm not man bashing. This is literally just facts. So the definition is, if you are masturbating to it, we consider it porn because it's an external stimulus. Okay. But then, of course, we've got Instagram, Facebook, OnlyFans, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube, which is triggering them because everyone's bending over and the women are getting their boobs out, and it's all very suggestive. And pedophilia is going through the roof because of it, because all of these young girls, and my daughter is like, yeah, we're cracking down on her for that reason. So videos, pics, sexting, and webcam is considered porn. Sexting, I encourage as a connection exercise with intimacy with a partner, but not while you've got a porn addiction. So you have to get rid of all of this whilst you're trying to clear the porn addiction out of the brain. But then you can come back to sexting if it's with a partner. But sexting with a different girl every time, getting on dating sites, trying to get photos, that's porn, hands down. Clothes, photos of women, and movies. I can watch a movie and it's not classified as porn, of course, if there's a sex scene, because I'm just watching a movie, because I'm not masturbating to it. And I might get turned on by it. That's okay, because that's a natural organic reaction. But someone that's fast forwarding to a sex scene or watching a movie for a sex scene to then masturbate to, that's still classified as porn if you have a porn addiction. Yeah. Erotic fiction now falls into this, as well as audiobooks, because I've treated clients that have, they went from porn to try and get off porn. They went into erotic fiction or audiobooks, and it's just same addiction. Okay. What makes it an addiction? Men don't associate the word porn with addiction. They don't. They just don't. Years ago, I got just bagged the shit out of me on all of my Facebook pages. What are you talking about? There's no such thing as a porn addiction. Is that even a thing? You know, on the dating sites, you hear it all the time. They certainly don't consider themselves as a porn addict, and we never use that word anyway. Their perception of addiction is skewed by the reward. Feels good. It is good. Makes them feel good. You know, it's sexy. It's whatever. So, like, of course, it's not an addiction. Drugs, on the other hand, you know, that's a different story. Everyone's like, oh, that's really obvious. They think because it's not interfering with their lives that it's not an addiction. And this here, I'm going to pull up all the coaches that message me and say, I don't have an addiction because it doesn't interfere with my life. My clients don't have addictions because it's not interfering with their life. You are not to be the judge of that because you don't understand what's happening to your body. You don't know the brain damage. You don't know the erectile dysfunction and all of the problems with the sexual energy. You don't know. So your perception is it's not interfering with your life, but ask your partner, tell your partner about your porn addiction, and then we'll see if it's interfering with your life. All right. They're not feeling any adverse reactions. They're not feeling it. They don't understand what's happening, because men that watch porn will still get an erection if they watch porn. It might take them a bit longer. They might have to fast forward through a few different things to get that stimulus, but normally it'll eventually work. Whereas if you get them to masturbate without porn, they've got no chance. Okay. So they don't see the adverse reactions because they're not masturbating without porn. Right. And then I'll give you an example of a guy. I went on a dating site and I met him and he's like, what do you do? And I told him and he's like, that's amazing. I didn't know it was a thing. How do I stop watching porn? And I was like, all right, I'll send you my ebook. I don't really want to be a practitioner. I sent him my ebook. He got off porn. I eventually got the courage up to ask him, because I didn't want to go there, how often are you watching it? He said 3 times a day. I'm like, oh, and then he started telling me stories because he thought it was funny. And he said, you know, he was in the mines and he had like living arrangements and stuff. And his subordinates knew that when he was late for a meeting, it was because he was masturbating and watching porn. He's their boss. And I was like, oh my gosh, he had no idea. And when he did quit, there was anxiety, there was performance anxiety, he threw me down on the bed when he came back from the mines and he said, I just want to rape you. I was like, oh my God. So there were massive effects there and he had no idea. That's just an example. Okay, so what do you classify as a porn addiction and how often is regularly? I just want you to put in the chat box now how often you think watching porn is classified as regularly. Having a look back in the chat box to have a look. Yep. So is it once a week, or is it every day? What do you classify as watching porn regularly? Okay. Nothing coming through. We're just going to move on because there's a bit of a delay on the... Okay, once a week. Thank you. So now we're going to... Oh, sorry. I just did something with the chat box. Now we're going to define porn addiction. It is defined as once a month or more. That's at the base end of the scale. 36 times a day, as I mentioned, is at the top end of the scale. And I've actually met one man who's never masturbated. The once a month or more comes from the psychology definition that if you can't go without something for a month, then you have an addiction to it. Now, with that definition, we're addicted to everything. And we are. We know that, kind of. We're in denial, right? The psychology definition is that. My definition is the ratio of porn to the ratio of masturbation. If it's 1-on-1, then it is a porn addiction. For example, if you're watching it once a month, and you're only watching porn every time you masturbate that one time, then you have a porn addiction. I had a 71-year-old that hasn't he had a 55-year porn addiction and he masturbated once a month, like I mentioned before, once a month, watching porn once a month. And I said to him, you have a porn addiction? He's like, no, I don't. I said, when was the last time you masturbated without porn? He couldn't remember. I said, how old were you when you first saw it? 15. Okay. So there's a massive damage and long-term damage that can happen just from once a month or more. All right. If you are masturbating 50 times in a month and only one of those times is to porn, then that's not a porn addiction. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So it is a scale. There are variables, age, frequency, ratio, other behaviors that are linked in with that. But the baseline is, are you watching it once a month or more? And then tell me more. Okay. And the definition, my best definition of porn addiction is compulsive engagement in rewarding stimuli despite the adverse consequences. So you just keep going and going and going, even though there's bad things happening, even though you don't perceive that to be happening. Okay. Has everyone heard of Nofap? No? Okay, Nofap is an American term. Australians call it wanking. Americans call it fapping. And I'm very famous for doing the noise at a dinner party, but I won't do it now. So fapping is the term Americans use. Nofap is a hashtag movement that started in America, and there's lots of camps and things that they go to now, men's groups and teens and stuff, where they're trying to get men to stop masturbating and watching porn. So the purpose or the intention behind it is good, but it's just full of holes. And I'll tell you why. Because no, it doesn't work, right? Because what happens is it puts the brain into scarcity and it's like coming down off crack. And they don't understand how the brain chemicals work. They don't understand what happens after you get off porn. Then when the sexual energy starts to pick up again, when they've quit porn, because it will, then they start to relapse. And they just keep relapsing and relapsing. I follow all of the Nofap accounts on Instagram and it's just the same everywhere. It's like, I got to day 50, or I got to day 20, or I got to day 3, and then I relapsed. They just keep relapsing. It's also an unhealthy, in my view, an unhealthy view on male sexuality. It's like, let's not masturbate at all, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and some of them are saying no sex, no nothing, no women, but it's going into a toxic masculinity kind of realm where they're blaming women for having urges. And then if anyone's heard of MGTOW and I've forgotten MGTOW, I think it is, and incel groups, and then men going their own way. The incel group are men blaming women because they haven't had sex. So there's a lot of toxic masculinity around Nofap, and a lack of education, and a lot of inaccurate claims. Right, so we're going to go into now. I hope you've had your wheat bix, because this might blow your mind a little bit. I'm not going to slow down. If you have any questions, write them down and I'll check with you in a second. Porn addiction is a neural addiction. It's not a sex addiction. Okay, your brain is addicted to itself. Right, it's exactly the same as a drug addiction. And I tell my clients before we even start any work, I want you to replace the word porn now with heroin. Would you shoot up heroin with your partner? Would you give it to your kids? And would you introduce it into your relationship? Right? The answer is no for most people. Okay. And so the damage that it does to the brain is worse than heroin addiction. You're going to see that in a second. Porn addiction is a production of chemicals and hormones in the brain and in the body, and the body reactions to that, the arousal system, the limbic system, of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and testosterone. Oxytocin is the love drug. The love drug is when you're patting your pets, when you're hugging your children, obviously when you're having sex with someone and connecting with someone, especially in the dating period at the start, and then watching porn. But it's produced in really high levels for women who have just given birth. So it's a bonding hormone. It helps you bond with the giant watermelon that split you in half for 3 days, and now you want to have more children, right? It's a bonding hormone, oxytocin. Oxytocin is the reason why men are pulling away from relationships and sex, because they're bonding with the acts that they're seeing. Now, gone are the days of Debbie Does Dallas and one video or one DVD and putting it on every time and bonding with the actual actress and going to Sexpo and trying to get a signature. That stuff's gone now, right? We're not in that phase anymore. We're way past that. And the oxytocin works in conjunction with the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind makes up 95% of the mind, where all the fuckery sits, all the sabotages, the experiences, the belief systems, all of your experiences, everything sits there, 95% of our mind, and only 5% is conscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind, if you have a chemical reaction to something, the subconscious mind thinks it's happening to you because you're producing the chemicals. Like if I watched a movie and I started crying because there's a dog and it's stuck in the water and I'm crying, it's because I have dogs and I'm relating to that and I'm starting to cry. So my subconscious mind thinks it's happening to me. And if I need to release, I watch a sad movie and I'm off I go, right? And that's really, really good. If I had a lemon in front of me, and I was cutting up a lemon and I started talking about how juicy it is and how bitter it is and whatever, and I put the lemon at my mouth and I bit down, most people would like have a reaction. Every time I tell that story, I get my saliva glands go. There is no lemon. We're just talking about a lemon. You might see a lemon and salivate, okay? And so that's the body having a chemical reaction. The subconscious mind thinks it's happening to you. So men that watch porn, if you think of every single act that you have watched over all of the years, your brain thinks it's happened to you because you've had a stimulus response and a reaction in the body. If you didn't have a stimulus response and a chemical reaction, you would have found something that made you feel that way. And you would have fast forwarded or got another video or found something that was more stimulating. So that's the oxytocin. The serotonin is a happy hormone. You get to feel happy and feel good when you watch porn, obviously. That's the serotonin part of it. The dopamine is the novelty drug. We call that the novelty drug. I like what I see and I want to see more of it. dopamine addiction is the phone addiction, with all the little numbers popping up and everyone loves me and wants me, even if you're stressed. It's like, I can't stop going through my phone. That's dopamine. You get little dopamine hits. Dopamine kicks in for porn addiction way before the session. For example, if a man is driving home, or he's leaving work, or he knows his partner rings him and says, I'm just going to go to the gym, I'll see you later on, dopamine kicks in. If he has a porn addiction, especially if it's a daily one, because he's going to go home and watch porn. He might be doing that anyway normally, but he gets a bit excited because there's more me time or whatever. That's the dopamine. It kicks in before the actual session itself. And then you're producing all this testosterone as well. All right, you get tunnel vision when you watch porn because of all the chemicals and hormones. All right, and tunnel vision means you don't give a shit what's going on outside. You can't focus on anything else except for what's happening right here and now in the pleasure dome, if you like. If you watch porn your whole life and you never masturbated to it at the same time, you would not have the same brain addiction as someone who does. As soon as you couple pleasure with the porn or with anything that you're doing, it's like the biggest fireworks display can go off in the head that is actually possible, right? So you're making it worse, if you like, or better in the moment. Opiates are produced as well, which are like endorphins, and then endorphins have a similar molecular structure to morphine, right? So you get to feel really, really good. And that tunnel vision's also like if mum comes home, you don't stop. You just quickly get it done because you're in the tunnel. Men that have ADHD, autism, Asperger's, anxiety and depression will go into the tunnel for longer periods of time and more often because that's the only time they feel normal or loved or pleasurable or happy or whatever. Okay. And then when the dopamine increases, so does the testosterone. Now, if you've got too much testosterone in your body, we're going to go through that in a sec, but it causes something called hypofrontality. Hypofrontality, normally men don't feel until they try and quit porn, and then they go to the supermarket and there's like boobs walking around and they're like just triggered by everything. And not sensory triggered, not organically triggered by the sun and the beach and the smell of perfume and stuff. That's all organic. We're talking about too horny all the time, looking at stuff, just compartmentalizing women, seeing body parts. That's called hypofrontality. The other thing that's happening in all of this is the hindbrain, part of the brain that's the impulse part of the brain. And it says, we didn't die from this yesterday, let's do it again today. So you're 17, you got your first smartphone, you have this amazing experience. The part of the brain that says, well, this was pretty good, let's do it again today. And so the cycle of addiction, you might watch it once a month, once a fortnight, then it's like once a week, and then it's every second day. That's because the brain is getting higher and higher addiction from these chemicals and hormones. And so the brain cannot accommodate for all these chemicals and hormones. You're not going to die from it, but it's going to change itself. It has to change itself. It can't accommodate for all these extra chemicals and hormones. And just like a drug addiction, if you took cocaine, you got really high on the first night, about 3 a.m., starting to come down, that's the brain coming down. It doesn't want to, so everyone's scrambling around. It's like, what do we do? Who's got more cocaine? Who knows someone? Get your phones out, right? That's what's happening at 3 a.m. People go home, they slide down into the come down. And then say the next day someone says, do you want some cocaine? Yeah, sure. You'll never get up to that high ever again on that second day because you've worn out your dopamine receptors, the serotonin, the oxytocin, you've crashed. All right. So there's this hit crash. You get the drug hit and then the crash of all the chemicals because what goes up must come down. And the hindbrain is causing the impulse like, hey, let's do it again. Let's do it again. This is fun. Let's do it again. And the hit crash causes depletion. And the brain is changing itself constantly. And what's changing are the neural pathways. A neural pathway is like a little mini program. For example, around the self-soothing, it might be every time my parents yell at me or I get in trouble at school or I get bullied at school and I masturbate, I feel better. So there's like a self-soothing mechanism going on there or a neural pathway. Now, boys' brains are still developing and girls' brains till the age of 27. So they are hindering all of their school stuff and their education and their ability to learn and grow, and you'll see the brain damage in a second. They're wearing out their dopamine receptors, and so is gaming addiction. I'm going to throw that in here because I'm really passionate about this, and I'm going to move into this field as well because it's very similar. And so gaming addiction wears out the dopamine receptors. So if they're not like this, they're bored. Try taking your phone off a teen and see what happens, right? I can't sit and watch a movie now. I'm getting better now, but when I was like on my phone all the time, I'd be watching shows and realize that I was on my phone and not even watching the show. And so that's a dopamine addiction because your brain's looking for that distraction all the time. And it depletes sexual energy. We're going to go through that in a second with the ejaculation, but this hit crash depletes everything. And so I found these photos today, the dirty old toothbrush that needs replacing, and the worn out shoes, and the man, this is what it's doing to you. And men are wondering why they're so tired all the time. They think it's work pressure and, you know, all the things. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So too much of a good thing. I did some research last year where I was sitting there thinking, okay, so we know about the depletion and we know about the hit crash and we know what's happening in the brain and all the neural pathways changing. I wonder what happens to the body when you produce too much oxytocin. And it's not good. I'm going to tell you now, too much of a good thing. If you produce too much oxytocin, you end up with benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, which is an enlargement of the prostate causing difficulty in urinating as well as bladder and kidney problems. Right? Too much oxytocin, that's what that causes. Too much serotonin actually decreases sexual motivation. It inhibits sexual behaviors, causes men to have trouble reaching orgasm and ejaculation. So the thing that they love is actually causing them to have sexual problems. Dopamine. By the way, women have exactly the same brain addiction, except for the penis stuff. Ejaculation different, erections different, obviously, but the desensitization of the penis, of the genitals, is exactly the same. The brain addiction exactly the same. Too much dopamine is linked to poor impulse control, men being more competitive and aggressive, and linked to ADHD and other addictions. Too much testosterone equals low sperm count. We have a massive problem happening in the medical world that I don't know what's going on, how there's a lot of infertility and people aren't having kids anymore, and all of these things are happening worldwide. You're going to end up with a low sperm count, shrinkage of the testicles, erectile dysfunction, damage to the heart muscle, and increased risk of heart attack is also possible, as well as prostate enlargement and difficulty urinating. That's too much testosterone. Plus you end up with the hyperfrontality. Too much I can never say this word, norepinephrine, we'll go with that, creates alertness and focus. It's like adrenaline, but excessive amounts can cause high blood pressure, anxiety, and excessive sweating. And then vasopressin is another one produced with porn watching and increases blood pressure and is similar to oxytocin. It plays a major role in defensive behaviors such as guarding a mate, but increased levels in males enhances aggression. So I don't know if you've heard, but there's a massive link between domestic violence and porn addiction, and the police are saying that. And so if the police are saying that, then you know it's been around for a long time. The doctors are also saying that it is a global health crisis because there's I think it's like 400% increase in young girls having genital issues, coming in with injuries. And they're doing anal sex before they're even kissing, and it's all happening at school. And there's a whole lot of things that are happening around that, which is no good. Okay. So you can see here from my Dr. Amen, I think it's Amen. These are his brain scans. This is a normal brain, no such thing, but a healthy brain. Here's your brain on heroin, and here's your brain on porn. And as you can see, this one is worse. It's no laughing matter, right? And when you tell clients to change the word porn to heroin, it really helps. Now, I get a lot of referrals from psychologists who have diagnosed people, and I always say, what did they diagnose you with? Why are you watching porn? And they say, because of childhood trauma, because of trauma, because of adult stresses, because I'm stressed, because I'm tired, because I'm depressed, I'm blah, blah. And it's like, it's not that, all right? Because it's the chicken and the egg situation. And I always say to people when they first come in, because they'll say, oh, I've got an addictive personality. I'm like, okay, so tell me about your addictions. What are they? And we list them. Which came first? Which was the first one that you saw or did? And it's always porn, most of the time. And the porn addicted brain then creates an addiction in the body. And so then porn isn't enough. So you've got to, have the drinking and the drugs and the this and the that and the gaming and the, gambling. And it just goes on from there because you've created an addiction in the brain. The only people that I see that have this as a childhood trauma are the ones that are linked in, like I said to you before, the 5-year-olds that have trauma associated with porn with that age. All right, but the rest of them is because they had access to porn. Hands down, that's the simple explanation. As soon as you see it, you have that chemical reaction, and then the body wants more. It's as simple as that. All right, so how can you drop into your heart and body when you're juiced up on porn chemicals? You just can't. Anyone here, have you ever told anyone about your porn habits? We haven't got many on the call tonight that are watching porn, but if you want to pop in the chat, if you've told anyone about the porn habits. Now, I mean the time of day that you're watching it, what you're watching, how often you're watching it. A lot of my research is in the book, and it came back that I think it's like 60-something% of men are doing it at work or in the car at work. So there's a lot of porn going on at work. Okay, we'll move on to erectile dysfunction. It is the biggest cause and symptom of, porn is the biggest cause of erectile dysfunction. It is the biggest symptom that we see. You saw my stats before. It's a massive problem. Now, I define erectile dysfunction as can't get an erection, can't maintain an erection, premature ejaculation, and difficulty having orgasm. So I've got all of them under erectile dysfunction. Whereas typically if you went to the doctor, it was just that you can't get an erection and they'll just put you on Viagra and not ask any questions. Don't even get me started on that. So it is overstimulation of the brain and desensitization of the penis. All right, I call it the greyhound race. I got shown years ago, I'm psychic, I got shown a vision of a greyhound race. That's what porn addiction is. The little white rabbit isn't real, and it's running around, it's being zoomed around, it's a mechanical device, and the dogs are going for it. They're being trained to go for it. They go for it, they think it's real, they're trying to catch it. That's what porn addiction is. Never gonna catch it, but you're conditioned to actually chase it. And so the video you watched yesterday isn't doing it for you today, so you're gonna fast forward and get another video, and so that's the overstimulation and then the desensitization, because no one is sitting down with a massive heart on saying, oh, I'm just going to watch porn. They're all doing it because it's 4 o'clock or their wife isn't home, or it's what they do first thing in the morning, or it's that time of the day, or it's how they get to sleep. Okay, there's a habit and behavior around all of this for anyone that's in the regular use of porn. The other thing that happens, which is a massive problem, is when there's a crash of those chemicals and hormones, another hormone called prolactin is increased. Prolactin causes erectile dysfunction. It causes poor moods, tiredness, difficulty getting erections, and interference with the function of the testicles and production of testosterone and sperm. Most men know this crash feeling after they ejaculate and they roll over and go to sleep, or they're doing it because they can't concentrate on work, and then all of a sudden they can. That's the crash. And you know that this prolactin increases because it relaxes you. And that release that they get, that's what's happening. All right, the monster here refers to the thing that they have created, men or women. So it's the time of day, what they're watching, how long they've been watching it for, the habits around it, the way that they touch themselves, any cultural stuff, any religious stuff, any conditioning from women, any rejection from women. It's all trapped up in this thing, and we call that the monster. The ejaculation hangover refers to this crash that I just mentioned. But what happens is when you ejaculate, you actually lose vital nutrients and minerals, and you lose chi. Chi is your energy that runs around your body through the meridians and the organs, and it's there from conception. And so every time, and it's in bodily fluids. So every time you ejaculate, you lose bodily fluids, you lose chi. And so they feel tired, but they're actually because they're depleting their energy, including their sexual energy. So therefore, is frequent ejaculation healthy? The answer is no. And if anyone's heard of semen retention, it is not Nofap. Semen retention is learning to orgasm without ejaculation and learning to have multiple orgasms without ejaculation, keeping your erection and maintaining your seed. That is semen retention. This is what I teach, right? Nofap is just throw it out, go into scarcity, put the brain into like what the hell is going on, and get rid of all masculine sexuality and tell people not to masturbate. That just doesn't work. But what happens is when you ejaculate, you lose nearly half your daily recommended intake of zinc. Nearly half. And so if you're not getting it from foods, which we're not, and unless you're eating oysters every single day, and you probably already have a zinc deficiency because you're not eating the right foods, then every time you ejaculate, you lose half your daily zinc. And zinc is the essential mineral for men. It's the number one mineral for males. It helps you produce testosterone. If you're not producing zinc, we don't produce zinc in the body. So if you're not getting it externally and you're not taking a supplement, then how are you producing testosterone? All these gym junkies are going to the gym and they're masturbating, they're watching porn, and it's like you're trying to get this muscle mass and keep healthy. Zinc is also for immune system, and it keeps the prostate healthy. So it's a vital mineral and nutrient. It's important for male sex drive as well, as it helps manufacture that testosterone. Low testosterone causes decreased energy and sex drive, as well as an issue with muscle mass, hair and skin, and blood count. Right? It also helps, means it prevents a low sperm count taking zinc. I've got all my clients on zinc. It's really, really important. Selenium is the other one. Selenium protects the prostate and reduces the risk of developing prostate cancer. It's really important, and that's what you lose when you ejaculate as well. A copper toxicity. So copper and zinc work as cofactors in the body. When zinc goes down, copper goes up, and you end up with a copper toxicity. Now, copper toxicity can cause massive brain problems, ADHD, autism, underachievement, hyperactivity, learning disabilities, and then there's skin intolerances, emotional meltdowns, white spots on the fingernails, poor immune function, high anxiety, depression, concentration, focus, all of it. It's hair loss, anemia, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia. So when your zinc goes down, and most men will have a zinc deficiency, if they're watching porn, then the copper goes up and you've got both problems happening. We've gone through the losing chi and sexual energy, and the increased prolactin. So my recommendation to men who I get them off porn first, but then the healthy lifestyle moving forward, is that they masturbate once a week and ejaculate once a week. Now, the biggest question they have is, what about sex? Because you're going to ejaculate with sex, and how is that unhealthy? It doesn't matter. It's still unhealthy. So we train you up to have orgasm without ejaculation, and then you don't have this problem. Or you just don't ejaculate, but that's like telling a baby not to cry. Okay, now, the biggest thing that I get my clients on, because we have to do the physical work. We can't just do the emotional and the energetic work that I do, the Kundalini activation. It's all part of it, but there's physical problems in the brain that we have to repair, and it's not just going to go away by itself. Okay, and so I've got this product called Balance Oil. I'm not here to sell it today. I'm just here to tell you. So there's other things out there like this. This is a better quality. It's omega-3 fish oil, it's got olive oil, polyphenols in it, and vitamin D3. It repairs the dopamine receptors naturally after many, many years of watching porn. They use it in methamphetamine users to reset the dopamine receptors. It's great for gut health, immune system response, and cardiovascular health and mental health. It does everything. This is the best supplement I've ever seen. I'm on it. The whole family's on it. It's saved my life. I had chronic bursitis in both shoulders and I couldn't work, and it was because of the stress. When stress goes up, immune system goes down and inflammation goes up in the body. And this is where you start to have all these physical problems. Right? It improves sperm morphology, which is sperm structure. So if you're looking to have a baby, then you need to make sure that your sperm structure is good and your motility in the movement of the sperm. It's great for reproductive health, increases semen volume, and also increases testicle size. And we have lots of evidence of that, which I won't go into. It contains DHA, which is used to decrease bipolar symptoms and reducing stress and depression, lessening manic behavior, reducing addictions. So if you're not on fish oil and essential fatty acids, it is essential for your diet. And this is everyone. Reduces inflammation in the body, improves sperm production, increases testosterone levels in the body as well. And it's used, as I said, in methamphetamine addiction. If you're interested in this, you can get in touch with me and you can buy it through me. Right, I just want everyone, we're about to do a breathwork exercise. So I want everyone to stand up. I know it's annoying, and just shake it out a bit and just take a couple of breaths and a drink of water. We're just going to have a quick 2-second break. Okay. All right. Is everyone back? I'm just going to keep going because we're recording. I'm going to teach you the sublimation breath now. If we're not back in the room, then it doesn't matter, but I'm going to get you to write this down. Number one, there's 4 steps to this. Sublimation breath is how we actually move sexual energy away from the groin and up to the top of the head through the spine. Sublimation breath is also how we start to train the body to disconnect ejaculation and orgasm. It is also how we move the doom and gloom from the base chakras, the 3 base chakras, up through the body. And it also helps, it squeezes the cerebral fluid up the spine and gives your brain a technical brain orgasm, according to Joe Dispenza and the work that he's done. Okay, so there's a bit of quantum physics in here and a bit of woo-woo as well. It's also Taoism and Tantra, all of it. So sublimation breath, we're moving the energy away from the groin up to the top of the head. This is amazing for anyone with premature ejaculation or for men that want to last longer. It can make you dizzy, so just don't practice this while you're driving. That's my only disclaimer. And I tell people it's great to practice this just before you go to sleep, because you're actually bringing your body into a bit of tension and then you're relaxing. All right, so grab a pen, and the first step is you pull up your pelvic floor. If anyone doesn't know, you flex your anus like you're going, ooh, and you pull your pelvic floor up, which is your gooch, but the space between your anus and your testicles. So you're pulling that up by pulling it up in, like a cord is pulling up through the middle of your body. Now, step number 2 is you pull your abs in at the base, just below your belly button, or pulling your belly button to your spine. So you're clenching your abs. So this is called the bracing position. So if I was about to hit a tennis ball with a racket, I would be in a natural bracing position. So pelvic floor up and abs in. This is the bit that squeezes the cerebral fluid up the spine, which is really, really healthy for us to do. Now, the third step is you breathe to the top of your head whilst you are holding these two in place. Now, if you've let one go and the other one out, then you haven't done it. You have to go back to getting that bracing position right. And you're pulling the breath up through to the top of your head. Now, I tell people to touch the top of their head to actually set the intention of where they want that energy to go. I also tell guys that you can imagine, and I get them to do that in front of me on the table, is they imagine a big long straw running from the base of their spine to the top of their head, and they have to snort drugs up the spine. And the way you do that is not by a long, sorry, we're just frozen there. Hopefully it's okay. Can you see? Is that frozen for you? There we go. Okay, so we want them to do a sniff breath. Okay, so it's a really fast breath up your spine into your nose. All right, so you have to breathe out first to be able to do it. Now, the fourth step is you hold it for as long as you possibly can, but also checking in that you've got the bracing position right as well. All right, so it's up, in, and breathe to the top of your head, hold for as long as you can. And what you're looking for is a change. And you do this just before you ejaculate. So you're looking for a change in anything, in your body, in the way you feel, in the way the orgasm happens. No one is ever going to know if you're doing it right. No one ever knows if I'm doing it right. Okay, so you just keep practicing it. And so you pull your breath up, but it's a sniff breath. It's really, really fast. I'll do it now. So we're going to breathe out and then in really fast. As fast as you can, right back into the top of your head, and then you hold for as long as you can. So this breath is amazing during sex. It's amazing for masturbation and conscious self-pleasure, and that's where we teach that breath in here. Okay, so we're going to just move on quickly to brain damage. 1,643 men are killing themselves every day globally. That's 68 per hour. It's a lot. And the likes of Beyond Blue and all the mental health institutes and whatever are dumbfounded about why this is happening. Well, I'm not, because I've done research on this. And if you look at the way the damage happens in the brain from porn addiction, and if over 90% of men are watching porn, then it's an easy answer. Right? The dopamine receptors are getting worn out, which means they're bored and they're tired and they're distracted and they're not present. The neural pathways are changing, which means there's brain damage from a very young age from porn addiction. They've got hypofrontality, so they're walking like a walking hormone. There's frontal lobe damage. The frontal lobe damage that occurs affects your concentration, focus, memory, decision-making, emotional expression. So we keep saying that men don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to ask for help. Well, guess what? It's part of the brain that gets damaged from porn addiction, and they're all watching it from a really young age. All right, so you've got the gray matter is being decreased as well. The gray matter is the neural tissue in the brain. It controls muscle control, sensory perception, such as seeing and hearing, memory, emotions, speech, decision-making, and self-control. Controlling sexual behaviors comes from the frontal lobe as well. So they keep saying, I can't control myself, and I keep cheating, and I keep doing this and that. It's because of the brain damage. Okay. And also anxiety and depression comes from that frontal lobe. It's where it comes from. It's pretty easy. It's a bit of a no-brainer. So who's learned something already? Hands. So yay, it's amazing. Beautiful. Okay. Prostate health, just quickly. Doctors are saying, this is a quote, the more you climax, the less likely you are to suffer the disease. I'm here to tell you that is not true, and I have debunked their theories. They did it was all based on a research study back in 2004, where they now say that men should ejaculate 21 times a month to keep the prostate healthy. All right. It's based on a research study of 29,000 men between the ages of 46 and 81. They were asked to report the number of ejaculations per month in young adulthood. At 46, between 46 and 81, these men were asked to recall how often they ejaculated as teenagers. Right, so how they could recall that information is very questionable. Then they concluded that because men had slowed down on ejaculation as they got older, that was increasing the risk of prostate cancer. No one for a second did they look at all of the ejaculating that was happening when they were younger that has led to prostate issues later in life. Right, and doctors cannot say what causes prostate cancer. I've done a whole course on prostate stuff, get lots of guys coming in. You're losing the vital nutrients that keep the prostate healthy, the zinc and the selenium. Watching porn and masturbating interferes with prostate. Right, we went through all of the things that when you produce too much of these things, it causes problems in the prostate. And also, on a practitioner note, the gallbladder and the prostate health are actually linked. And I knew this. I got shown this in a massage, and I went away and researched it. And men that have gallbladder issues are 65% more likely to have prostate cancer or prostate issues. Now, the gallbladder is where they store impotence, suppress frustration. Right, so this is all Chinese medicine and kinesiology that I do. And the prostate stores emotions, just like all the other body parts do. And the emotions in the prostate are emasculation, feeling useless as a man, losing their roles. So a lot of men are splitting up, losing the role as the father, as the husband, or as the breadwinner. And there's a lot of resentment in the prostate as well. Okay, let's just quickly have a guess when prostate cancer numbers increased dramatically. Who can have a guess when that happened? Who wants to have a stab in the dark? Let's have a look. Oh, when the internet came around. So in 1995 or 1991, they introduced the internet, but no one knew how to use it. We were using email and we didn't understand it because I was alive in those times, right? I was in my first job. In 1995, the first Yahoo search engine came around. And by 1996, the levels of the number of cases reported of prostate cancer doubled. And then the first smartphone came around in 2007, and then the cases doubled again within 2 years. Okay, right. Who knows anything about Tantra, Taoism, energy work, breath work, quantum physics? I know some of you do. Yay! Beautiful. Let's have a jump into this. Right. Men heal through sex. I get in trouble for saying this all the time from the women normally. There's two poles on the body in Tantra. There's a negative and a positive pole. Men heal through the negative pole. Men heal through their positive pole, which is the groin pole. And the women's groin, sorry, I'm butchering this. I'll start again. Men heal through the groin, then that opens up their heart. Women heal through the heart, which then opens up their groin. Everyone is different. Some people are having different days to that, but the general thing is, the consensus is, this is how men heal through sex. They heal through, so the groin carries all of the guilt and shame sits in the sacral chakra, trauma and stress in the groin, emasculation in the prostate, relationships is the hips, and resentment sits in the prostate as well. And so you've got all of this hub. And what happens is when men have sex, they send, not all of it because we'd all pass out and die, but we transmute as females through the microcosmic orbit, which is like a energy circuit running through the body. When men plug into the feminine, they actually release their stuff and the women can transmute it. And this is why men are always kind of turning to sex to heal. And it's why they're going outside of relationships. Because if you ask the guys who are doing that, and I ask them, what kind of woman is this woman? What does she do for you emotionally and mentally? It's all the things that their partner is, having a go at them for, or being nasty about, or whatever. That's how they're healing, right? And so women heal through the heart. So if she's had an argument with her mum, or she's been sexually abused, she's not going to want you to come up and try and have sex with her to heal that problem. Okay, they're going to heal through the heart, through acts of kindness and doing things around the house and sporting with the kids and whatever. Then she's going to get starting to look at you, you know, sexually, because they heal through the heart first. And there is a better way, and I teach conscious self-pleasure. It's all over the internet. My masturbation is the answer to everything. Okay, and we're breaking the neural pathways by doing that, because you have linked, when you watch porn, you have linked porn to pleasure. That's your neural pathway. Okay, and so if you give up porn and pleasure and do Nofap, and then your sexual energy will start to pick up over time when you get off porn. You're like, your go-to is, well, I'm horny, I need to masturbate. And so when you want to masturbate, it's still linked into the porn. And so you can't, like, it's too late then, right? You're always going to watch porn when you masturbate if you haven't broken the neural pathway link, right? And so what we do is we take out the porn. So there's 4 links in the chain: orgasm, ejaculation, masturbation, and porn. That all occurs at the same time. What we do is take out 1 link in the chain at a time. First one is porn, but we have to link the other 3 back up. You have to learn how to masturbate and have an orgasm and ejaculate without porn. Then we take out the ejaculation link, and then we just link you up. So you're doing self-pleasure, but you're actually having orgasm without ejaculation. So we're breaking the neural pathways and the habits and conditioning in the body. I am absolutely about healthy male sexuality. I teach breathwork and energy work. There's multiple and non-ejaculatory orgasms in the work that I do. Full body orgasm is the bare minimum that guys get to experience when they do this work and the programs that I give them. They get to reconnect with women and partners and be present, and they don't actually know what it feels like to do that. Because they've not known any other way. And so when we get them off the porn, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, is this what sex is meant to be like? I'm like, yes, this is why I do what I do, so that we can get the men having the sex that they're meant to be having, a 2-way, you know, situation. And we're teaching mastering and harnessing sexual energy as part of all of that. And it's not just about porn and addiction, as you can now see. It's about sex drive versus sexual energy. We cover the limbic system, kundalini activation. We go through sexual channels. We go teach you about chakras, organs, meridians. All my clients are doing qigong. They're learning about their microcosmic orbit, and they're also doing the yoga nidra meditation to try and drop back into their body and feel, and also get to sleep. But there's more. I also teach, they get masturbation schedules. They get essential oils for sexual health, which is all muscle tested as part of the kinesiology work that I do. We do the brain recovery with balance oil. We work on the mental health and the triggers with the kinesiology. They get sublimation and breathwork training. There's 90 days of masturbation homework if anyone wants to get involved in that. We look at nutrition and supplements. It's really important. We look at ego as well. That tends to come in halfway through the program where they don't want to do it anymore. And then we look at how Nofap sets men up for failure and how that's happened in their life already. Who knows what Kundalini is? I know you do. Beautiful. So Kundalini is a Sanskrit term of 2 snakes caught up at the base of the spine. And when you are aroused, they will go up through the chakra system, through the back of the spine and the neck. And this is your traditional sexual energy. This is your organic sexual energy. Now, chi is a little bit different. Chi flows through all the meridians and the organs and the glands and things. But Kundalini is specifically based in the spine. Now, I say to guys, can you remember a time when you got turned on and you didn't have the influence of porn in your life? And most of them say no. But someone that doesn't watch porn, their Kundalini is a lot more active and alive because they're being triggered naturally by the limbic system, which is your 5 senses. All right. So it is the cure for porn addiction. I've had guys, first session activated their Kundalini, they haven't watched porn again. And if you look at my website, there's a whole lot of testimonials of guys saying, what the hell happened? What have you done to me? Their body moves and shakes. There's a whole lot of weird shit that goes on in here, and it's a lot of exorcism type stuff. And then they just don't feel like watching porn again. However, the danger there is they don't feel like masturbating again either. And so they haven't broken the neural pathway. We still have to break the neural pathway around their habits and behaviors with the self-pleasure. So they get self-pleasure homework, which you're all going to get today. And so there's lots of reactions. There's amazing outcomes, and it's called integrated massage therapy. Now, I have slowed right back on this. I'm only doing one of these a week. And I'm looking at training up a whole lot of practitioners and a whole lot of clones for them to take over my 5,000 men client base, because I'm done. I've done it for 9 years. It'll be 10 years next year. And I'm moving towards the women and doing different treatments and getting off the tools. My back's hurting. I'm over it. I'm getting old. Right, and now I'm offering a lot more kinesiology and coaching around the same kind of thing. And we can still do the energy work and the kinesiology without, you know, the sweaty kind of oil stuff. The first session with me is always 3 hours because I go through everything. You get homework, you get essential oils, you get all the works, electrolytes, the training, the breathwork training. We'll just skip past this one. You're all getting conscious self-pleasure homework. Don't worry, I'm not gonna follow you up. I'm just going to, can you just take your hand down, Angela, so my photo goes back up to the top? Thank you. So this is called the 2-week challenge, and today you're going to get it for free. And if I can coordinate my technology, you'll get the link in the chat. Otherwise, just contact me, whether it's by email. I'll give you my contact details in a second, and you can get this for free. I ask that you do not share this with clients and you don't share it with other people. It is your gift tonight for showing up here, because normally it's $17. And it's a mini program. It's a taster of what we need to do moving forward. You get a 35-page ebook, which talks about the introduction and the expectations, like why are we actually doing this and what's expected of you. Because men are like, oh, she's going to tell me not to masturbate. Well, that's not the case at all. We go through the limbic system and arousal, breathwork and edging. There's masturbation guidelines for the 2 weeks. Then you get a schedule, a checklist, and a tracking sheet. And you fill in the tracking sheet every day for the 2 weeks. All right. Now, if some of you are practitioners and you want people, I'm happy to, I jump on interviews and lives and give this away for free to your clients. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Please don't share it with clients as a freebie, just to honor my work that I'm doing here. Ooh, what's this? It's a bit late in the day for penis on the screen, isn't it? Okay, so this is just a quick view. You can find this on my blog. I think it's the very first blog post on my website, integratedmenshealth.com.au. And this is lingam reflexology. So everyone knows about reflexology on the feet, how it relates to organs in the body. Well, this is kinesiology does, Chinese medicine does, and now you have the diagrams for the penis, reflexology. And so you'll see there, we'll just give an example. One of my clients drew these, by the way, they're in my book. I'm like blown away. You should have seen my drawing of penis. That didn't work. So we've got here, the 2 lung points are on the sides here. And the lung is the metal element, and it's here. It's all about grief. It's about regret. It's about letting go. It's about false pride, and it's about openness. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing there, but that's there on my blog. If clients can go there and get that for free, and they can start experimenting at home with the way that they self-pleasure as well. Okay, so now we're going to go through what is the solution that works. We need to break the neural pathways, as I said, between porn and pleasure. And we do that through my 30-day program. You can start it on the 2-week challenge, and you'll start to see erection issues start to turn around within 2 weeks. But if you want to master this and start, you know, really giving it a go and having orgasm without ejaculation, you need to do more than 2 weeks work. Right, so you're going to go from disconnected, impotent, frustrated, inadequate, unsatisfied, and carrying shame. And we go through, we rewire the brain, we resolve the issues, and you relearn how to masturbate and how to self-pleasure and how to have sex. All right, the 90-day program is more around intimacy, relationships. It's not running at the moment, but this is the best value for money in terms of what you get. We're going to take you to a more sexual, confident, potent, connected, present, and free state. And in the middle there, you've got all the building blocks. You're going to learn, identify, You're going to rebuild, uncover, let go, practice, action. Whoop, went too far. Oh, sorry. I pressed the wrong button. And connect and integrate back into your life with partners. And if you're single, this is the best time to get this sorted so that you can, attract the right person at the right vibration. And then eventually you master sexual energy. It's called From Porn to Pleasure by the path of least resistance. So guys have tried everything in the past. It hasn't worked. It's all been a secret and they can't tell anyone. And so this is by the path of least resistance. It's all mapped out for you. It's my 30-day program. You can quit porn for good doing this program. It improves your quality of mental health. It improves erections, and that's almost guaranteed. If you do the work, that is. Eliminate premature ejaculation. That happens every time. It's amazing. Guys start to last longer, even if they don't have a premature ejaculation. They regain sensitivity in the penis. It's so important. And they start to have full body orgasms and mastering their sexual energy. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but this is what you get. Weekly curated teaching content. So you get a new email every week for 5 weeks, which guides you on your healing journey. And you get a whole lot of work lists, workbooks, checklists, what are they called? Ebooks. You learn about the cycle. There's videos, there's articles. That's what comes through weekly on the content. And then you've got the weekly coaching tips and tricks and tasks for implementing and practicing exact methods and habits to ensure success, making permanent change yours. So you get sleep meditation, qigong, breathwork training, microcosmic orbit meditation, sexual sublimation, anxiety self-journey exercising, and understanding the ego. These are all actual things that you need to do, tasks. Then you get 30 days of masturbation guidelines. And it's imperative to do this exactly how I ask you to do it, to break the neural pathways between porn and pleasure. All right, and there's all the stuff that's included in that. You get 30 days of one-on-one support from me. I am the world's leading expert in porn addiction and sexual health. Well, I think I am anyway. I haven't met anyone that's doing the work that I'm doing at the level that I'm doing it at. There's plenty of coaches out there, but they're not doing the body work at the same time. And that is exactly why I need more practitioners to come and do the work that I'm doing so that we can cover all the states and cover this as an army. You get emotional support as well as coaching through that time, and it's all done on WhatsApp. You can contact me every single day if that's the support that you need. There's a private Facebook group as well. And then at the end of the 30 days, you plan the next 30 days and you get a blank calendar, which you run past me. And then if there's any mental health issues or any problems arising during the program, then we address those as well. There's some testimonials there. People are getting better at sexual energy, better erections. Everything is changing. I've got people that still contact me that did this 2 years ago, and they're like, "My God, I've met, the love of my life, and I'm really good in bed now." And like, it's just, people are engaged that wouldn't even go near partners because they were so afraid of their porn addiction and their habits and their erection issues, and now they're working for themselves. They've quit their jobs and they're engaged and they're living together and they're married and having kids. This is the success stories that I'm seeing long term now because I've been doing it for so long. So From Porn to Pleasure is the total value of the program is $11,500. But if you enroll in the next 2 hours, and I'm going to extend it because I'm not waiting 2 hours. I'm going to bed after this. You can have 24 hours to jump on this deal. You're going to receive these bonuses if you get it in the next 24 hours. You get an extra $100 off for acting now. You get an extra $100 off for attending this masterclass. So you actually get $200 off if you attend the masterclass. No one else gets that, only if you're getting it live. You get an extra 30 days off me after the 30-day program is finished. So you actually get 60 days of coaching value from me. And I'm going to throw in a 60-minute coaching call. I used to do these, and we're trying to fully automate the program. but I'm happy to offer this as a special deal where you get the one-on-one coaching call with me on Zoom. Most of my clients are overseas for this. It's quite funny. The Australian men don't want to do it. Okay, so what you get, I'm not going to go through all of that, but there's the layout. If you want to take a photo of that, it's got all the value next to it, and then the bonuses that you save, and all of these bonuses here, and all of the subtractions, etc. So it's $697 up front, or there are investment options and payment plans. Okay, so if anyone is interested in this, you need to get back to me in the next 24 hours to get the $200 off. If you know anyone that needs to watch this, get on to me. I will send you the recording. I actually have a previous recording I can probably send you. And if any of your clients or anyone you know, I'm happy to honor that because you were on the call. Okay. A special link will be provided, so you cannot share this with other people. You have to have been, I've got a list of people that were on tonight or registered. It has to be one of those people. I'm only taking 15 enrollments at this price, and then it's going full automation where there's no coaching or anything involved. So how to find me? Integrated Men's Health is the business name. integratedmenshealth.com.au is my website. If you go onto the website, you can get, there's a number of ebooks there for free. You can send your teenagers there and they can get all of anything that's on my website is suitable for teenagers, except the uncensored threat. I would be very careful about sharing that with them if they are under the age of 16. There are some very personal stories in there, both from myself and from other women and men that are very graphic. There's talk of abuse and pedophilia. Just be very careful if you're going to share that. I do have, my first book is aimed at teens and parents, and it has a forward in the front that talks to the parents on how to actually talk to their teens about it. But if you don't know this information, then how are you meant to, pass this on to your kids? So it starts with you. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and WhatsApp. I have a Facebook group just for this seminar. So if people want to, get in there and see when the next one is, it's called Healing Sexuality After Pornography. There's also, as I mentioned earlier, I've started up a Facebook group, a conscious singles group, where we are obviously men and women, but we ask, that the men aren't watching porn, that they're in there. So we're trying to get the alumni of my clients and the work that they're doing and jumping into this singles group, because there's a whole lot of single men who are doing this work, and the women are like piranha waiting for them to appear because that's what the women want. Okay. You can buy my book on my website. You can find it there. And I'm going to send you the links. I just want to know how you're feeling now while I do all of that. Can you put in the chat box any questions and let me know how you're feeling, any feedback? I'm just going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to send you some links. Just bear with me. Okay. Going to the chat box. Here we have, that's where you can buy my book. And this is where you can get the balance oil. My blog, I'm just going to give you a link right now to the penis pictures, which is very important for women to understand as well. If you want to give your man a very nice massage, keep writing how you're feeling. This is your self-pleasure freebie. Please don't share that with anyone else. The 2-week challenge. If you're interested in any of these, click on them now so that it opens up a tab for you. And we just got one more, which is the 30-day program, which again is a special link. Please don't share that. Okay, we've got a question here with the breath. How many breaths do you recommend doing each time? So the sublimation breath is meant to be just before ejaculation, but I recommend you practice it on its own without any sexual stuff attached to it, so that you can kind of get a feel for doing it right. It's very difficult, especially if you've had a baby, to try and help pull your pelvic floor up and keep it up while you do the breath work. All right. So practicing it, I say to people, practice it 3 times before you go to sleep or whilst you're walking. It's easier to practice it standing up than it is to lay down. And you just do it the once before, just before ejaculation. But you can, if you're trying to last longer, you can actually do it throughout the session. Now you'll see from the Conscious Self-Pleasure, the 2-week challenge information, that I want you to masturbate for 10 minutes every second day. That's the schedule. And then the second week you do nothing. But then after that, there's more homework, and we try and reduce the frequency so you're not ejaculating as much, and then increase the time spent. So you do it for 20 minutes, then 30 minutes. So ongoing, I always recommend masturbating once a week for anyone, just to clear the energy and get things going. Make it ritual, make it 20 minutes, and then everything will start to shift. And you're doing the sublimation breath at the same time. Does that answer your question, Jacob? Yeah. Beautiful. Was there any other questions? I'm just reading this. Wow, the brain knowledge is powerful and surprising. I also feel a little sad to know how big an issue this is in the world. It's getting worse. The men are doing the work, but it's getting worse in the teens area. And that's why I'm starting to swing the business to the mothers, because the mothers are they're going to be doing the work here around the teens, I feel, anyway. And we want the women to encourage the men. So what's been happening up until now is the men have been doing the work with me, and then they get all excited and they go home and tell their partner. And that goes down like a lead balloon. And so the women are reacting through betrayal, which is perfectly normal, but we want to support the women to have these conversations, to have more transparency, to then be a little bit more compassionate, to understand the erectile dysfunction, not put up with unhealthy behaviors, and always have boundaries. But we want to work together. So this starts to go like this. So the women are supporting the men are supporting the women, everyone's connecting back in, and we're actually doing the work around this. Okay, any other, what have we got? What about men, women who think about porn scenarios but aren't watching? I call these imprints. Yep. So with my clients, I get them to fantasize a certain fantasy, and it's almost like an avatar. And I channeled this years ago, and she looks like Ishtar and me, actually, which is quite funny. She's got long flowy hair. She's got the form of a woman, but not the genitals and the nipples, right? And she's kind of got, the scaly skin that they have in those sci-fi movies. So she's got beehive glass skin, and you can see like she's black in some spots, but the light is shining out of her in others. It's very specific on what I saw, but she's there to witness them in their raw sexuality. So their failures, the erectile issues. She can sit there and watch. She's there to love. I hate the love and light thing, but that's what she's there for. She can sit behind them. She can stroke their hair. It's an avatar, kind of anonymous. They can't have sex with her or touch her. And it's this, because men or women won't have full body orgasms unless they feel loved. And I've seen that time and time again. So if you feel loved, so often I've said to guys around fantasies, because that's the number one question that comes through, how do you fantasize after, being in porn all the time? I say to them, what does your heart want? And they'll say, well, I want my partner to give me, oral, because I feel fully accepted, in that situation. And it's not even about porn. So what does the heart want is they want to be fully accepted by their partner sexually. And so that's the fantasy that they stick with then, instead of the sexual boobs and all the things happening. So we try and tap into, what does the heart want? Sexual fantasy, yes, but what does the heart want? Right? And so it's really important to work with guys. This is a gradual thing too. This doesn't just all disappear overnight. They still have, like you say, the imprints. And it's very difficult, I've found, for the clients that were exposed to porn very young, especially the boys whose parents owned news agencies. They're the worst. They come in and say, I feel like I'm never going to see boobs ever again because my partner won't have sex with me. She's my best friend, but like we're not having sex. And I'm like, okay, so how old were you? And it was free magazines, just leftover magazines all the time, in their 40s, obviously, 40s and 50s. But that's where they've got no imagination at all. They can't think of anything without thinking about porn. So we have to give them something to think about. You have to inject a new way of changing this. You can't just say, well, put your tools down and stop touching yourself and stop fantasizing. This is a process. Yeah. And it's really important that women and practitioners understand this and actually give men the chance to recover from this from all angles: spiritual, mental, physical, supplements, all of it. Thank you, Angela, for your beautiful comment there. That's lovely. Okay, any other questions? John, are you good? Okay, we're just going to wrap this up now. I'm going to